Do you think you have ADHD and you're an adult? Your entire life, you feel like you've been underachieving or not putting in as much work as you know you could be. But anytime you go to start your work, let's say at homework or just work at your job, you feel like you just absolutely can't bring yourself to do it. It feels like there's an invisible wall blocking you from typing the next word or next paragraph, next math equation, next line of code. You know, I went through that exact same experience. When I was 21 years old, I got diagnosed with adult ADHD. My entire life, it was kind of, something that my whole family acknowledged that I'm probably ADHD, but many people around me didn't believe I was ADHD because I could sit down and focus on video games for 12 hours a day. Something ridiculous by most standards, but I was able to do it, and I was super focused the entire time. But the moment I stepped away from the keyboard and the video games, I would try to do homework that I loved. I loved math, I loved science, and I go to do my math homework, and it was like really difficult for me to even start. I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted myself to be an overachiever, but my body wouldn't let me. It was like I was born to be an overachiever, but I was constantly underachieving. So when I was 21 years old, I went to a psychologist, and I figured, I was pretty confident I had ADHD at this point. I was struggling to even begin doing my homework. I was doing a pretty tough engineering degree. And up until this point, I was a junior in college. I was able to coast by with good grades, A's and B's, not too bad. But the entire time, I knew I was way smarter than that. I felt like if I really dedicated to myself to the work I was doing, I would get straight 100s in everything because I had the brain for it. So I tell my psychologist this, and he gives me a little bit of an exam, and, come to find out that I'm ADHD and I got prescribed medication for it. And quite frankly, that day changed the rest of my life up until this point. It's been multiple years now, and I've been on medication ever since, and it feels like I can actually sit down and do my work without dreading it for 6 hours. I stopped procrastinating nearly as heavily. Before I would have to wait until, basically 2 hours before deadlines to even start my homework. And that sheer panic that I was going to miss my deadline really ended up getting me to do my work eventually. I never missed assignments. I would never, I was very conscious that I had to do the work. I could just never do it. And then after getting diagnosed and getting medicated, I was able to, homework that was due on Friday, I could do on Wednesday, and I knew I needed to do it because I had more homework coming up down further on the week. And instead of, experiencing great stress of waiting for all these homework assignments to pile up and deadlines to come, I was able to just knock them out immediately. And I felt like I was finally able to achieve the results that I knew I was capable of achieving. I just wanted to say, all this to say that I really think that if you think you have adult ADHD, it is absolutely worth going to get a diagnosis. I have a kind of addictive behavior, and I knew that. And the whole reason I put off getting diagnosed for so long was because I was afraid I wouldn't be able to control the impulses to take more medication than, I was prescribed, stuff like that. And I found that desire to take more medication than I was prescribed, it was still there. I was getting, for the longest time I was getting Adderall IR, and I knew if I took a little bit more, I could, work overtime at work and do all this stuff. But ultimately, the knowledge that I couldn't take my medication on Friday if I took double the dose Thursday or something like that really has stopped me from abusing it in any way, shape, or form. I know I can't do work without my medication. Like if I was unable to get my medication right now, I don't think I'd be able to do like a single minute of work. tomorrow. And that thought alone has kept me from abusing it. So I just wanted to put this message out there for anyone that might be struggling in college or high school and they think, well, I wasn't diagnosed as ADHD as a kid. It's kind of pointless to try to get diagnosed as an adult. I just wanted to let you know it's not pointless. I got diagnosed at 21 years old and it absolutely changed my life. I had plenty of worries about how to, go about it. Plenty of worries of was it even the right thing or was I just looking for, an easy way out? And I can ultimately tell you, sure, sometimes I feel like I took the easy way out by getting prescribed medication to help me do my work. But before getting prescribed, work was basically impossible. Now, I feel like I'm a superstar in everything I'm doing. My work has improved tenfold. My grades, my last 2 years of college, were dramatically better than beforehand, and I was no longer scared to even sign up for tough classes. Before, I would look at classes and I'd heard they're difficult and I wouldn't even want to touch them. I thought they sounded really interesting, but I wouldn't even want to touch them because I knew it would be too much work. After, I was more than comfortable taking some classes I knew would be a little bit more work just because I would enjoy the class, and I'm able to take on tasks at work that I know are going to be a little bit, difficult, require a lot of work, but I know I will gain knowledge and experience that I wouldn't otherwise gain. So, just putting the message out there. Please, if you think you're struggling with ADHD and this is like something that's really, really bothering you, go get prescribed. You can't just, in most cases, you can't just go to a general doctor and say, give me pills, doc. It doesn't really work like that. You have to go to a psychologist. They'll give you a test. For me, it was a written test and had to sit down on a computer and tap an image anytime it lit up or something like that. The whole process took maybe a month to get prescribed. But from that point on, my life took a full turn for the better. And I would heavily encourage, if you've been thinking about getting prescribed, but you feel like it might be a coward's way out, I don't think so. I think it would benefit you. So anyway, that's all I have. And as always, have a great day.